So good afternoon, everybody. This is Dilip Pendekar. Basically, I work in Jacobs Engineering. Um, I passed my diploma in SBM Polytechnic from Vileparle, Mumbai, and then I completed my degree from the Government College of Engineering, Karad in 1996. And since then, I'm working in the field of transportation. Basically, once you come out of the college, is in you have a broader perspective, means which field you have to take. And I'm civil engineer. So my career, I spent almost 2-3 years on site working with Skanska, and then I moved to the consultancy, and after that the career narrowed down to the transportation field only. In 2005, I went to UK. I worked there for almost 10 years completed, and then I came back and working for the Jacobs. So my role here is I look after a team of almost 50 staff here, and then my other role is to look after the business for the UK. So it's really good opportunity for me to share my experience with you all. And if you got any question in between, you can just send that. I will be happy to respond you. Other thing is I just want to mention that this topic is quite the elaborative. So I will be taking through these some slides, but I will be discussing more about my experience and how I came across these ones. So when you pass out from the college, you got a theory knowledge, you got a very strong technical knowledge, and then you enter in the field. And once you enter in the field, then you like or not like, you've been a part of the project management. You can be a project manager if you got few skills. And then I will just go the first slide saying that if you got these types of skills inbuilt, then really this is the area you can look forward. It grows over the in India. If you see that people gets developed through their experience to the cradle of the project management, but sometimes project manager itself is a role. Project manager itself is a skill to develop from the beginning, or there's a qualification you can directly enter it. Mine is like that. I started working as site engineer, they work as a senior engineer, then become the technical, and then after that I have to leave that, go to the management role. If you got leadership, you are good in the team building. If you can motivate others, your communication is very strong, you can influence the people, you got a very good decision making. And then you need the cultural awareness. That's really important, that in this time of period when we are working globally. So you need to have a very good cultural awareness of everybody working around you, not just in this country but around in any of the regions you're working. So I work for UK, Australia, Middle East, and all these regions. And cultural awareness is the built people to understand you, because I said the communication is very close to the cultural awareness. Then you should have a very good negotiation, by and by the win-win situation negotiation attitude. You should have a trust building, so that when you say, you do it. And you should be able to resolve any conflict management. And you should be also good in coaching. So when you get experience, you should have gain the knowledge which you can share with others, so that they will not fall in the trap, or some of the hurdles we have gone through. These are the skills of the project manager, but this is basically everybody must be having few of them, or this can be cultured, or this can be trained through some of the professional these thing the agencies. So I'm just going to just mention about we are talking about a project. Project is something which is limited, in the time, start and end time. It got some temporary goal to achieve. Anything which is above, just for one of the objective, is not just be product. It can be a services you provide. And then you have to deal with all the people around you. So if you are going to work in a firm, then you will have the stakeholders. Stakeholders means those who all are related to the project. And that's basically the project manager has to manage everything around their roles, their responsibilities, and their activities, so that you achieve the goal within the budget, scope, and the time. Yeah. So I just mentioned that mention here that a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or a result. Yeah. So I know here we got the audience from all the discipline. I'm civil engineer, so I always think from the infrastructure perspective. But you from the IT, you must be looking from the software development. If you got a pharmaceutical, the pharma background, then you are as prospective looking at it will be different. Then if you are in the different field like mechanical engineer, then you will be looking at a product or something like that. So doesn't matter here, what we'll be following this the 10 knowledge area, wherever whichever area you work, you have to follow the 10 knowledge area. We are going to look at it. But important point of it is, when I say professional, the project management professionals, they got this American qualification, which we can achieve once you get, almost 3 or 4 years of experience. Then you can do the Prince2, which is UK based qualification, is a project in a control environment. I did that one while I was in UK. And what I noticed there is, everything you do it, you follow it, and you come into the system. And really good to look all together in a big perspective, because you are going to face some of the international companies very soon. And then I wish you, all the best to your career. And while you are learning, don't just go to the technical part only. Look at how you are going to manage your learning, how you are going to manage your career, and how you are going to manage the project you'll be working in. Yeah. So just to going that one, I will just quickly jump, saying that one doesn't matter. We take any projects, you will see that, you will be going through the processes. And if you go by the definition, these are very clear, very clear to you. Seeing here, you start something, and then, startup means some ideas or some concepts come with the mandate. Okay. And that mandate you have to follow if you're a project manager, and then you have to just collect everything, initiate it. So initiation for a project, I know the process takes the very important part where you initiate, because this is the critical area where very less people will be involved, but they will be taking very important decisions about the budget, time, scope, risk. And then with that one, the project manager is going to go to the planning process. And in this planning process, if you are looking at all the areas, almost you will have to look at 47 areas for planning. And if you know each and everything how we are going to do, then we can go for the execution. I will just say that, all mostly depends on how good we are planning it, so that it will have a realistic timeline, realistic scope, and realistic budget to achieve when you execute the process. And the final is the closing of the project. So definitely at the closing of the project means you hand over your product to your client, or the services or the company, any change. Yeah. So if you see here, I just shown I said the physical, the stages here, the processes: starting the project, organizing and preparing, carrying out the work, and closing the project. If you see the time and the cost over here, the most of the cost is spent in the carrying out of the work. And you will see that initial, you will be spending very less, but very important part we do while we are preparing all these project chart we'll going through, and the project management plan. The plan is prepared, and then you execute it. In that execution, you will be continuously monitoring it, controlling it, so that whatever is plan is happening and is not deviating from what you have designed. And later on, you have to close the project. So closing project may be the natural end of the project, or it can happen in the middle of the project. So we have to terminate the project. Yeah. So I just mentioned over here what I say, the process you'll be learning whenever somebody is initiating a project. Initiating a project is a process. I just said that you'll be going to the definition, design, development, deployment, and a departure. Okay, and a finish of these are the stages. If I say like that, then the processes will be continuing. The initiation process will continue up to the development stage. Planning is continuously go up to you complete your product. That the planning process continues. Execution start, as if you see the curve over here is a lean over here, and this goes on the top and it ends. And when this product is complete, there's a closing. Simple life cycle. You have to just always remember. Is nothing difficult here. Is you just go with the concept and the logic. You will understand. There may be many terms we'll be using, I'll be showing over here, but don't get stick to the name, just get to the concept so that you know how to deal with it. And if I show you here, this is just what I said. You have to see the 10 knowledge areas. Okay, so always for all the stages, you have to just see that you are, I will just go through this one. If I say you have to always know about the scope, this time, cost, quality, then the human resource, communication, risk, procurement, and a stakeholder. So maybe with the given time, I need to see how much we can do it. But I just want to go, when I was working on the field, literally somebody was doing this on the background, and I was the part of somewhere in the execution process group. Yeah. And I was just a site engineer. I was just doing all these tasks over here, and just execute this thing. Even I was not in the processing in the style. So even you will be entering somewhere here on one of the group as per your career, but you should have the wider perspective looking at all other things. Even if you're not going to be a project manager, but I think it's very important that you can't expect from the project management, right? You can escape out to being a project manager, but you are a part of the project management, right? So if I am the part over here, so what I used to do, daily do my task and give it. Somebody will monitor it, control it, and somebody had planned it for me, and I was doing all these tasks over here. But as you go further in your career, you will be looking that some other peoples are doing this task for you. So maybe sometimes we see that the seniority goes in the type like that. If you are executing somewhere, you want to be a project manager, then you want to be an executive director to take the decisions on the top, right? So this is really a cradle comes with the experience. But thing is that even with the theory, if you combine your theory knowledge and the experienced people around you, you can go to the faster ladder, and then you can be a good project manager. Here I will just mention that if it is there, initiating a project planning process group. Okay, so initiating is a very small part where is a very small document is prepared, and this is what we'll say. We'll go in the detail here, but I just want to cover a few topics here. So somebody is making a project charter, is just defining what you want, what is the objective, business case is developed here. Okay, and then that may not be in the pure this thing in the detail, but these are where everything on the top is decided, and then it goes to the project management plan. Here is the project management plan. In that one, we'll be having all these management plans. Yeah. So in this project management plan, you have to think of everything. You have to think how to integrate all this together. So if I say how we are going to, identifying the scope, how we are going to manage the scope, how we are going to monitor the scope at the end, and how we are going to validate the scope at the end, that your product is still what it has been defined. But that all has to be delivered within the time. So time is a critical one, because the project itself is a time bound. And then is important to know that we have to just see what we are going to do, and your experience will tell you how to break down your activities, how to make it to the smaller activities where it can be a single activities with single resources at the bottom level, and then you can put it into your planning stage. Yeah. And then once you know the once you know the all your activities, you have to just build a cost. Cost is a very critical part. And then once you go to the bottom one, small activities, you build a cost, right? And cost and a quality. Quality is the product that was expected. If you're spending that much time and there's no cost, we expect that the result is look like that. So how we are going to manage the quality? The human part is here. That's a very important part. It depends. How we hire the people, who we appointed, what is the role, what is the definitions, what is the organization chart. This is very important over here. Even the conflict within the teams, conflict with other stakeholders, these all are managed over here. And then the communication is the key one, so that many people, many processes, many enterprises, many softwares are involved in your project. So how they are communicating to each others, what will their protocol, who is going to do it, what are the methods you are using, that's what it will be defined over here. And this is the knowledge area. And then is the risk. So once you define everything, right, and you already started working on it, every time on the project, it is not always going to be a very smooth task for us, because there are some factors which may not be in our control, or maybe, not in the project manager control. He has to see that, is there any risk to my quality, cost, and time? Okay. And then that risk management, you should plan if something comes, how we are going to manage that risk, right? And the project procurement is just, I will, this procurement is like we have whatever the vendors, external things, how we are going to, these are the third party supporting all of you when you are doing your project manager role. So how we are going to, conduct our procurement, and how we are going to control that plan, everything over here. And the last one is the stakeholders management. So we should know the who are the stakeholders in our project, how we are going to communicate with them, how we are going to manage, and these all you have to do. That's why this is a simple table. If you see this, very simple to understand, but if you go inside it, there is a lot more thing you'll be learning, because I said that we got to 47 management processes, are, but and then what we said, these are the 10 areas, and the 10 areas we have to just understand whenever we are going to do this thing. But when I said the cycle over here, this thing, I said the initiating, process, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing. If I say the project life cycle is going through it, but suppose if you are in, I will say, the software industry, then you will be going through the stages like that, requirement gathering, analysis, analyzing, designing, coding, testing, and the deployment of your software. But if I'm in the construction, then it will be going like that: feasibility survey, then the concept, then goes to the detailed design, then construction, commission is hand over it, and then close. If it is a pharmaceutical, it will go to the discovery, screening, and preclinical development, this registration and post submission activities. So this though the names will be different, you will be going through all these as the processes and all this complete knowledge area. Okay. Then I will just tell you here, I did a Prince2, means the project in control environment. That looks not at the activities, it looks at the product, and it breaks down the smallest part of that product, right? If you are building a house, they will not go with the activities, they will go with the wall, ceiling, coloring, and this will be the product they will be focusing on. The Prince2 is like that, but the basic concept is similar. There you will find, same, the knowledge areas, the processes are the same. Only thing is they got a gateways, and they looked at, when they will break down the any product, they will look at a product, not as activity. Yeah. So, and then in the project management, you will always see, if you go theoretically, they will always, there is a three things you need to know. If you are doing a risk assessment, if you are doing a change management, then you should know where the information will come from, where it is best, and what are the tools and techniques you will be using. So you will be very, you should be very up to date with all the tools and techniques in the market, in the management, in the software industry, what they are using, what are the best practices. And then thing is that what is the output. So if you are at one process like change, if I say change management, you should be thinking what is going to be output, and that output will be the input for another process or another activity. Yeah. So if I say initiating a project, I said in the beginning. So what we are going here now, we are going through now the process groups, right? The 5. So we'll quickly go what happens in the initiating a project. Yeah. So initiating a project is just is a process performed to define a new project and a new phase. So it can be a new phase. It's not always like because some of the work will not be a continuous work. What we say, it will be 3 types of the processes. We say a fountain type project where we have to do step by step, and then we got a spiral type project where we can, and prototype one, where you make a small model and you involve client into it, so he becomes a part of your project, and and he's not clear about his output, what he want, but he knows the ideas, what is the outcome I want. So you have to continuously work with him. So that's the model, I will say, prototype. And then there's another model which is a spiral model, where everything, everything is clear from the client, and he will give you the details, and he is not in the rush for the time. He will say, okay, if I need to take 2 years, okay, that's fine. But after 2 years, I want a complete product. So in that, you got ownership and you got a more responsibility to deliver the project. But you have to, again, it can be reiterated. It can be, you can work on the small part and reiterate, improve it continuously. Yeah. So purpose of the initiating group is like that, we have to just get, if somebody gives the mandate or the client says that I want this much, so we have to just, his expectation will be the purpose of this thing, and then he will be giving about visibility of the scope and objective and show how their participation in the project, its associated phases can ensure that their expectation are achieved. So these are this thing, and in this one they will just create a small project charter. Project charter is where the objectives is given, what is the outcome they want, and at the same time this is where the project manager is selected, and then after that is the project manager role to just go take all the project to all the process. Then is come to the planning. The project manager will see that he will just work on scope of the efforts required, redefine the objective, develop course of the actions. Okay, then he will go to the planning process, develop the project management plan. So what I said earlier, project management plan is you have to just gather all the areas. I said 47 areas, and then the 10 knowledge areas you have to cover, and how we are going to handle those scope management plan, the risk management plan, stakeholder management plan, all should be the part. And this project management plan is not a fix, like once done, is a live document. It continuously evolves over the times with the change risk. Yeah. So everybody will be participating in that one, and all will be the project management plan is the review. It creates a baseline for you, but that baseline is again and again review to see any change risk to the project. So is mentioned over here, documents how to execute the other processes in the project, that project management plan. So whenever we do the work, we are working with UK, you are working with Australia, and suppose the project is in UK and we are working from here. So I need to know if is a team, integrated team working in UK, India, and the project manager must maybe sitting somewhere else, maybe in India or maybe in UK. But what will be having that he will be preparing the project management plan, and that project management plan is shared with everybody. So everybody is clear about the project management plan. If you are working on any project, always ask, where is the project management plan? Can I read it? Because it gives you inside out of whatever you activities you are doing, what are the areas it will influence, and then it gives you a broader perspective. So we always ask, where is the project plan? So they gave us a project plan. In that one, everything is defined. Yeah, and it says a progressive elaboration, right? So it will be developed over the time, and it can be changed within, but once the project management plan is final, then is not anybody, they can change it easily, because they have to take approval from a board. Yeah, change control board, and that comes to the the higher management or senior management or the client. They got a right authority to approve it. So project manager is got a freedom to plan and make the project plan, but after that one he has to manage that project plan. He can't change easily. If anything change, that will be escalated to the board. Okay, then it comes to the executing process group, right? So it will go to the next level where it will be given to the where it will be given to the resource, all the resources including people is given to the team, all the plan is given, and then execution starts. And this is the most critical part of the project, because we are going to spend a lot over here. So and the thing is, many people will be involved in this stage. Yeah, so it's very important now that we got all the communication plan properly, we got a team, we know who is going to report what. And then this process will be continuously going on, monitoring and controlling. Basically monitoring, when I say, they monitor the project management plan, and they control which is not going out of the or the baseline. So there will be always like that plan. You will hear two things: a scheduled time and a base plan. The base time. They say schedule plan and the actual plan. if I say schedule cost, actual cost, okay, schedule budget, actual budget, whatever the works they will do, you will always see what was the baseline identified, and if it is approved, then we got always a revision of our everything. So it will be having a revised change control plan. We will be having the the revised cost, everything. Yeah. So, and then finally it comes to the closing process group, right? Closing process group is like the last activity when it can be happen. I said earlier that a project can be closed as a natural end of the project where you achieve all the objectives, and the project can be go in the obligations or go in the negotiation. If something goes wrong with, there is no it can go in the arbitration. At that time it will be closed. But in all the areas, it may be a natural thing as well. Even if you go to COVID situation and we have to stop, you see the construction site as well, they stop. So at that time they have to just decide the temporary closure they will be doing, but they have to do all the documents. Sometimes they will have a satisfaction survey, and the important part, we will be having the lesson learned. Lesson learned is very important. I think what I learn in other countries, that lesson learned always feed to your next project. And this is really when you are going, company is going to make some change or another product they want to develop it, first they will ask where there is a previous history of it, what this type of the project, where are the your lesson learned register, we want to read it, because that can save a lot of times and repetitions, avoid the repetitions what has happened to the budget and cost escalation, right? And we do that one whenever we when we are doing the project, like if I'm doing a highway project or the transportation road project, each stage will be having a lesson learned, and that is documented and is reviewed on the next project. This help us to improve the quality. I think is a continual process. When I work in India 10 years, I work 10 years here, I work 10 years outside. What I notice is we are not continually improving. Doesn't matter wherever the stage we are, but we have to continue improve. To continually improve, you need a lesson learned document. Even in your career, should keep that, what I lesson learned from here, so you can just easily uh, go in the forward, what say, speedily progress in your career. Same times here, I will say, in the closing project, every client and everybody will be signing off the project. And because the signing is very important, because that is the legal implications are closed. So you are signing it off to the client that you completed this stage, budget, scope, everything. There's nothing which is going to come back. But in the contractual obligations, or if it is not a natural end, if saying that it is terminating the project, then still we can document the thing. So it is helpful for both the parties if it goes further in the negotiation. All right. And then develop a project charter. I says again, I used to say project charter or business case over here. So we have what we'll have to just see in this project charter, you will have these agreement. These are the basic and contractually very important documents. When you say, you should have your statement of the work where you just mention about the need, product, and you have to define your product properly. And then on that basis, you have to do the business case. Business case is where you have to just find out, we have to work on all the areas. You have to just mention what is the scope, what is the time required for it, what is the risk, what I'll say, cost for it. But you have to say what is the benefit of this one. You have to do the cost analysis, you have to do the benefit analysis over here, and you have to prove it. So in that business case, suppose you are going to do it, you have to do the value management. Even you have to just go through the value management of your project, of your product. So, and then you have to agree based on this one, you have to agree all the things, your contract, then you have to understanding, minutes of understanding, letter of agreement. And then we have to see what enterprise environmental factors will be using. So if I got a government client, and I have to just see what standards I have to follow for him. At the same time, I have to follow my organization cultural structure. So that is already, that is on our system. So whenever the contract is signed, we have to see that we are not doing anything out of, our standards or the practices. And at the same time, you have to follow the regulations over here, right? And organizational process asset is, I say, it will be mentioning, template, historical information that all client has to give to us about whatever the policies they got, what is the historical information or anything lesson learned I said earlier. And the template, if they got a special template or the product they got something specified, then they need to get that and involve it in the project charter. Yeah, so I will not go in much on the business case. So project management plan, I said, try to cover everything, each area. If I see over here, if you go to the project management professional book, PM book, then you will find so many things are written here. Each area, each of the plan will have what is the input required for it, what are the methods, tools, and techniques to develop that change management, and how we are going to document it. So I just mentioned, and this one project management plan should have all this project management, right? So here I will just say that cost baseline. If I say, then you will see the schedule baseline, where schedule baseline is where you will be breaking down to the activities, make a Gantt chart and check here that you are on the schedule. But before, in the planning stage, you should be breaking it down, and you have to just tell what is the estimated completion time for this project, and that is going to be a part of your baseline. And then you on this one, and the cost management plan, and third one I said the quality. That's where we'll have to just see that, because you're investing, but that's the very important, what product we need. Yeah, and these are the plans. You will see more in detail, but let's see how much we can cover. So in the scope management plan, I think when we're somewhere, if it is a system improvement, if it is, it's not always a product. It can be a change to the organization. A project is all a change to the organization project. Then you have to just collect all the requirement. If you are going to develop a software and you see many applications around you happening on this thing, you want to, I say eBay, or these are the commercial product, or ATM cards. If you want to make some change, or if you want to make a product, you have to just collect all the informations and get everything. And then there are so many things to collect the requirements, right? So you can have the surveys, and there's so many services. Then we got some brainstorming activities. You can have the focus group to work on it. Even I have seen a very good documentary, the BBC documentary on the product identification, and even the psychologist will involve in that one. If they want to make a product, suppose a small product of what is a washing machine powder, maybe that small one, but even the psychologist will be involved into that one. To see that what are the requirement, how the people are using it, what are the behavior, all the collect information is very important. On that basis, then we will define our, if you are making not just this one, if I say I want to make a car, then we have to just look at all the products is required, what are the different part, and then based on that you just define your scope, what you are going to do with this thing. And once you define your scope, then you have to just create work breakdown structure. Work breakdown structures means is not like that, I want to go to Delhi tomorrow. That's simple, define the scope, but doesn't mean that, that is itself is complete to a task. I can break it down that, I have to work, I have to think about the car, vehicle, my packing materials, the bookings, everything. So just break it the way you can to the bottom level. So once you break it, that's create a WBS, and each WBS work, the activities can be monitored. Yeah, and then the scope management, then you will say control the scope. Then how we are going to, once you define your scope, what you're going to do, then is like control the scope. Yeah, that will be covers in the this thing. I said that whenever you are collecting a requirement for your product, there are so many tools and technique. I said this just example I've shown here. See what are the things which are going to help me. So it's not like that somebody asks you to collect the information. So you have to see, if I'm going to do all these tasks, what are the inputs I need? You should be knowing what are the things. So if I see here, it will be given that, I need to see scope management plan. I need to see requirement management plan. I will to see stakeholder project chart and the stakeholder register. This I have to study first, and this will give me input. And this, then on that one, I just want to require I will have to document my requirement and how I'm going to do, and the requirement traceability matrix, how I'm going to do this one. So there are the techniques, tools and techniques is very important. So there you can just just for one I'm going to take this one, say interviews, focus group, group activities, group decision making, questionnaires, observation, prototype, benchmarking, so many things you can read in the detail. Yeah. And once the scope management, I said always see that scope, for the scope management there you always see expert judgment. So I think this is very important. You will find this tool to one of this everywhere. You will find expert judgment is required. So always meet the people who have already done that type of the job, or in the market leaders, and just you can just study them, or you can take their judgment on your product, on your planning, or you can always ask how we are going to do that one. Can you explain me? And then their judgment can help us to prepare a good scope management plan. And then I say the scope, what we are going to do it. I have not gone much detail in the WBS, but we'll come to when we'll go to the schedule. The time management is the part where I think we get a good marks questions on that one, to make a Gantt chart or by CPM PERT networks to analyze it, and we are all good. I was we had 10 marks questions on this one, but not looking from that perspective. What I say ki, if not always a diagram to paper mark, just think theoretically, practically, that what it is going to say. Okay, so even if you go the bar chart, we use Microsoft project to create the Gantt chart, whatever is critical. It goes to that level that it can give you all the cost analysis, timeline, everything on it. So if I just go now, what we'll say the time management, but I will just say, if in the activities, if you have this, always see the chart, you will see the plan schedule management. Yeah, you have to plan that. You define the activities first, then that why I say the breakdown structure. So whenever you are making your schedule management, okay, so what you do, you define this, your breakdown in your activities to the smallest part, and the same next thing is arrange in the sequence. And then after that one, you have to estimate each activity. This is where we fail. Sometimes I seen in the project, somebody estimate for us and I work on the project. So I feel like, who did the estimate? And I'm now have to deliver with crashing the activities, crashing the spending more time on the project or more resources on the project. Time is also resource. So it's important, whoever prepares this schedule need to have a very good experience. Yeah, so always is the best way to check with others, 2-3 people, whatever you are estimate, right? That estimation, then you have to just, when I say estimate activity, then estimate a duration on it, and then based on that, just draw the chart. I will show you now. And then once control the schedule in the monitoring stage. So in the planning stage, you are doing a lot of things over here, and in control stage, you are just monitoring whatever has been planned. Okay, so let's see when I say critical path, this is a simple one stage over, activities. What I say, the Gantt chart, PERT is not used much, but the critical path method, I will see, you will get a question over here. So if you see the dark one, there may be complex. This looks very simple, and you can do. You don't need even sometimes the hand. But I will say there is an activity, breakdown. So if I say this is activity, and it got a duration over here, there is always one early start time, yeah, and early finish time, late start time and late finish time, yeah. So thing is, now the duration required is 5 over here. If you see duration for this one is a 5, duration for this activity is 10, and duration for this activity is 15, and it will complete. So it is very simply shown here. But if you see, if I want if I am just starting at one time, this is my first activity, and this will open up, and this is the input for the 2 activities. And now these 2 activities, basically this require only 5 days, but at same time this require 10. So if I see the next activity, I can't start unless I complete both the activities, and then I can go to the activity D. Now you will see that, this is a loose end. You will find that this as, 5 days float. So float means what? This activity have the freedom to move for 5 days back forth, but it has to start. If I say I have to start on the 6th day and complete on the 10th, if I start very early, but this activity will start on the 15th day, so I got a 5 days lab. So this is where, then it will come to the 16 activities. So what is the importance of this float? So float is not just to see the when the activity is going to start. Float is to manage our resources properly. So if I'm going to use the resource on it, what is going to happen when they complete this task? What are they going to do it? That's what I said. The resources might not be working on one activity. They be working on the many activities together. So based on this plan, you will find this is the critical activity. You can't touch this critical activity. We can have both the critical activities, or you can have both critical, on the critical path. Critical path is short, longest part, we'll say over here where there is a no float at all. But if something happens over here and I want to, crush this activity, and instead of duration 10, if I double the resources and make it the 5 days, then I can make this both activities will be the 5 days. The both resources can continue further. So you have to see in the different perspective, not just in the chart. Look at some activities happening over here, and then it will go. So this path is a critical path. And in the project management, we always ask we ask the question, where is the critical path? Then if they say yes, then we don't have any float for it. So you have to always focus on the critical path. Any delay in the critical path is a delay in the time schedule, yeah, and a delay to the cost and the client. So they won't be happy if you are missing your distinct timeline, right? But thing is that on the float, we should be managing properly our resources. So this will feed not just to the cost or time. You can do the resource profiling with this one, and with the resource profiling means you can mark a timeline and put the resources required over here. If I say I want a resource, on this one, 2 resources, this is 4 resources, 10 resources, and then see whether you can manage that. You can resource level it. So I will not go in detail at the moment much on this one. Yeah, but if you go to this one, I will say that you will find there always formula and everything, but I always go with the logic, and doesn't matter, the formula is very simple. Don't go with the formula. What I say is always perform a forward pass. Forward pass is very easy for it. Just add the number. I say this activity is going to start 0. Just go to the top one, earlier start, earlier finish, and just add the duration on top of it. So say 5u plus 10, 15. Just do that one. Don't worry about it. And then it comes to this one. It's 9, 14. Then it's come from here to here. The 15 start, right? The 15 days, and then you just add it. And when you will come, you just do the reverse way. You end up to the 31. Put the 31 over here, and just get that duration and deduct it and go back. Okay, only where we got a 2 decisions, you have to say which one you have to just put it over there, right? So I think this is a very simple one, but think from the logical perspective, right? And then once you see over here is simple. When you say there is no float of activities, 5u 15 15 20 20 matches, it means this is on the critical path. This is just the theoretical way I have told, but just don't look at the theoretical way. Just look from the as a project manager, and you should be looking at as a resources. And at the same times, if this is a critical, these are also critical for us to plan properly, right? So what we can do, we can crash the activity. Sometimes you will see that I'm crashing my schedule. That's what we use. Crashing in the sense you have to just So crashing is activity that you can put more resources, or you can more resources in terms of not just the human resources, but other materials, all the stuff, and you can crash the activities. Yeah. And then we say the fast tracking, we say activity of the phase normally done in the sequence are performed in the parallel for at least a portion of their duration. Okay. And the example is constructing the foundation for a building before completing all of the architectural drawing is like that. Fast tracking means some of the activities you can start proper this thing with parallelly and track it faster. So you can parallelly do the activities and save some time and a cost. right? Then how we are going to control our schedule? I will say again, I need to say that, what is the input? Input is again, somebody has to tell you that, what is your project schedule, what is the data on it, how many resources already given to everything to you from the project plan. And then you have to just use performance review, project management software. You have to just use that, the tools and techniques I said. You can use Primavera, or you can MS Office, even Excel, people who work on it. But on the complex project, it doesn't look very professional to use the Excel and everything. You just learn that how it is doing, and there's many softwares which can do it. And there's so modeling, you will come to know, many things about it, how to compress. You can put a query to it. You can get, you can try and, see that how we can just save the time over there. You can plan over that there, but it comes with the experience only, not just making a Gantt chart and make you this thing. But if you got a good visualization of the project itself when you're looking at the Gantt chart, I think you will crack on. Yeah, and then output should be like that. The thing is schedule forecast. So every time project manager will be looking at two things, whether my project is on schedule or not. And then he has to just see if it is deviating, then you have to put a change request, because he committed the schedule to the schedule plan. So he has to get requests. Doesn't matter, not everything is going to follow. Change and risk is a part of the project. So don't think that there would not be any change or the risk. Yeah. And then organizational process assessment, I will say project document updates. You have to update the document. If I'm going to change my schedule, if it's going to be delay, then I have to just mention in the project document update that everybody, because in the communication plan, everybody should be aware what's happening with the project. So that will come in the this thing, what is a communication plan. So I will just let me check the project cost management here. How we are going to say, we just look at a time management. We just have to look now cost management, how we are going to do, check with the cost. If you see again here, plan the cost and estimate the cost and determine the budget. Everybody will ask you where you are in the schedule budget, or what is your actual budget, forecast budget. And then you just control that cost to the minimum possible. Yeah. And then I will say the plan cost means you have to level of the precisions. You should be monitoring your account, what I say, budget account regularly. You should have. That's what I think my whole time goes on these days. I'm just pass and I look at the budgets and the precisions of the information. So it's always the numbers, but the numbers are the different way. They just tell me the cost. Yeah, and I have to just look because we got almost, if I say 4 regions and I got many projects over here, then I have to say everything is in the control. Yeah, and how to mitigate that. Then they should be continuously reporting on the cost. So we know that, we are within the limit of the budget. So if I say here how we are going to do that, again, everything is given to you from your project management plan, these activities. And then you have to just, you have to just estimate, you have to just do your estimation in the mains. There are tools and techniques, but you can forecast the estimation if some changes happens. Yeah. And then you have to not only just, you have to see the cost of the quality. Yeah. To get that quality again back with the changes, how we are going to deal with it. Right. And the output is like that activity cost estimate you have to give base of estimates. You have to say why you have revised the estimate and what are the reasons. So everybody will know, and that should be documented. Yeah. So that's basically cost baseline. Somebody is estimating, if you are estimating something on the bottom level, project has some always a caveat, what I will say, contingency. And who will be doing the contingency? If I am a project manager, I will be breaking the activities, making estimate. I will put my risk on it and contingency so that I can breathe, normally when I'm doing the work, because there is some reserve we have to say. This is a contingency reserve we have to keep. But when it goes to the management, senior management, they will do their the management reserve. And this management reserve you can't handle unless a big things happens and it's through the control, change control, it escalated to the board, change board. Then they can change control board. Then they will see that, whether we can increase the cost baseline. Otherwise, they will again see that, where contingency reserve is used or not. Okay. And then you have to just see, I will always say schedule variance, schedule cost. You have to see whether your product physical progress of the project and the estimated cost are running as per the plan. Sometimes it may happen that you are this is a good budget. If you are here estimate assessment date, this is the assessment that I'm doing, this is my budget at completion, I said, but I have to check every month. If I'm checking here, I know that I'm under budget, that's fine, cost variation. But if I see here that like that, behind a schedule variance, so what is the reason whether I am spending less with the activity I have to achieve, but it is showing you are 1 month behind the schedule. So it means that we trigger that our schedule is not going to meet. Then this is where we have to just check whether we can put more resources, whether we can crash the activities, or we have to just continue with the same. Then what is going to be my new budget at completion? Yeah, this is the scheduled budget at completion, right? And then this is continuously monitors, and then that's give the business, okay, we got 100 projects, how to manage within. So these are all I think will come with the experience. Quality management is first one you will be dealing with when you're going in the field, right? So you are going into the field, and just 1 minute. Just give one. Yeah. So I just taking the time. Yeah, the project quality, the time management is very important. We should be in the estimated time. The quality management is when we are working. Basically, this is the first thing we come across. Quality. Somebody plan that this is the product I want. Then when you're working with sometimes you will find whether your product is first time approved, or you may be doing a very iterations. Even if you do your project submission in the college, if you are very good in that one, your project submission will be accepted in the first place. Otherwise, we have to just redo it, or we have to just see what are the criteria, right? So how to control those things we'll be learning in the project quality management plan. It's an ongoing project, but somebody has to monitor it and see that everything is under place, so that though we spend scheduled costs, we are on the scheduled costs, we are on the scheduled budget, but if you are not on the required quality, then that will hamper and not just the complete project, but the reputation of the company as well. So this is what we have to just see. There's a third party we have to just assign and see that whether they are monitoring the quality properly. Yeah. So everything will come, because I will say in the project management plan, again I will go back to the project management plan. I will see what is specified, what are the limit I have, I can deviate, what are the quality metrics over here, what are the quality checklists, because when you're working you should have a checklist. Checklist is very important. We always talk day to day. If somebody we want to say, if I'm developing a project, I don't know exactly what stage I am, where I'm correct or not. So we should always have a checklist prepared on standard checklist, or you should prepare your own and just check it with the seniors or the project manager, or not the project manager, basically is what I say, quality manager, or who is doing the quality role in your team, right? And then look at always look at the actual technical performance, schedule performance, and what are the effect on the cost performance when you're doing all the quality. So quality can cost a lot. And then I said deliverable maybe in the part, or deliver maybe as a complete delivery at the end. So I've seen that your project can go to the stages. So it's not like you are going to go at the end and going to show the deliverables. It can be checked in middle in the phase. So if my project is the feasibility, so we call as a gate stages. Yeah, gate stages means a client or the controlling body will not sit with you day to day, but they will be on the schedule, in the chart at the milestone, maybe they will sit with the whole team and review the product, review the project, everything they can review. And that's where we can, in the phase out, we can change the everything, not just the quality, but everything on the project gateways. We saw the project gateways in the Prince2. So project gateway, I think in the UK I have seen all the just like our PWD or CPWD, they got the highways agency, and they got all over the UK got only 100 people, but they don't need to be that many people, because the system is so what I say precise that you have to just meet on the gateway. So they will only check on the gateway that everything is happened properly, and the gateway got a complete system. The project management plan is so robust that they don't need to interfere unless there is a deviation. I will say handle with the exception. So if there is an exception in whatever we have designed, whatever we plan, then only the client will interfere. Otherwise, everything you got with the checklist, you check it, and the product will come as planned. Yeah. So checklist, I will say, always see that you should have the cause and effect diagram. That will this you have to understand what was the cause, what was the effect of it. Then we just understand the flow chart. Flow chart is good to analyze where the system went wrong. You should have that one, and then your simplest checklist. This has been the saying that how many times your product your software is checked, what is the frequency, and then if it goes to I will say how many times you're checking the project control or the quality control team will be analyzing on together how the company is performing. If they are putting all this the quality checks and seeing what is the deviation, they can see this is the standard deviations of the company, of the team, or the client, so you can check over here, right? And then histogram will take where are the areas which are the peak, and they can focus on it. So will not go much in detail. Quality assurance, quality control is something you are controlling this thing, but who are going to assure that the quality will happen? So what are the measures we say? So we will have that we say that we have the quality audits in between. You doing your own check to control the quality, but there should be assurance team separately which are doing regularly quality audit. They will check that you are following the company standard, client standards, rules, regulations, everything. Yeah. And then it will go to the change request. If something they find over here, you can go to the change request, or you update your document, and anything you have to update your project management plan, right? And the human resources, that's what I think we'll go to the two points more. Human resource management is very important, because the humans is the in the software consultancy or the service provider, or even I will say the not just in the construction industry or the mechanical companies. This is a major important part now. What we are looking is innovations and new talents to come with the new ideas. So ideas and innovation is leading at the moment. If you see in our Jacobs, is always say it is topmost company in the fortune. It's just because the humans mental dispositions at the work are focused, and your team and if there is a good team, good focus, people are very much settled, known with the skill, right people are right level, then I think everything goes very smoothly, and the project get that result, right? So basically we say that acquire a project team. So I got almost 180 staff sitting in 4 offices, different skill from newcomers to 20-25 years, and every time comes a new project, and I got I will say I got 40-50 projects. So every time you have to arrange a team, so we have to see how to acquire that project team, right people at the right time. So we should be knowing exactly the how to develop our project, and how we can assign them to this thing. Assign them to the project, and then managing the same. I will not go this thing into detail, but managing the same. There may be conflict, there may be some teamwork. So now whenever we are going to see any conflict, then project manager has to deal it very quickly, so that it will not impact on your organization, not your team, and not on your project. But thing is, you should have always organization chart. So whenever you go into the company, always see that what is the company organization chart. But this will, I will say, this is the project management plan is to know how to report it. There should not be any conflict, how to report, how to escalate it, because these teams are going to highlight the change and the risk management when they are working on the project. These are the important, like, when we are working, we say something is going wrong here, they have to escalate it through the PM. they will not have always access to the project management plan, but they have got a team meeting every week. Then or anytime if it is a risk they identify, they have to report to their line management or the team next lead, and that will be escalated and documented and kept here. And project manager has to just take action on it. Individual responsibility is very important. That it shows the hierarchy where to reach it. Yeah, and then I say he has traditional organization chart structure that can be used to show position relations in graphical top-down format. But this looks very simple, but there may be just one project manager, but the teams may be sitting separately. So when we work on a collaborative platform. So we don't see we got a Skype, we got project-wise. Project is always on the cloud. So if I'm designing now, you must have heard the building information modeling. So we are modeling everything at one place. All the engineers work on the same model at the same time, and they work in the 3D. So everybody, even they attach not just the one dimension, two dimension, three dimension. They put a cost onto it. They put a schedule onto it on the model. And at the moment it is stage 2. But now the IT, I will say, this IT is taking over so much of our work because they can work faster and they can handle complex. So it's really good to have a virtual prototype of your project. So I can drive on my road. I can just drive the type of the road. If you're making a product like that, you can really simulate it, and not just simulate it. You can just have load it with the cost, load it with the schedule, and see what can happen. So in the real time, you can see the small model, and really good means I've seen that people carrying, you just put your tablet or the iPad on top of your drawing, and it will show you the 3D directly from there, connected with the collaborative way of the design. And that's way we're working at the moment. And IT really doing a great on that. So communication plan, I will come, it is important because whatever work cannot speak, the people speak, right? And the people have to speak with each other through the planning communication. There should be from the client to the bottommost person, how the communication plan that should be identified. And we should know this question. These questions are always you ask for any plan, you will get almost like that: who, when, where, what, and what is the format, and what is it, language. And this is basically, I mentioned language barrier, cross-culture consideration need to be taken into account. You will surprise that in UK you do assessment for a personal thing, and we decided whether these 2-3 people can go together in the meeting, because even that analysis, psychoanalysis, tell you that these 2 people cannot go in one meeting because they are not compatible to each other, right? So that levels of is happening when they are going for this thing. Even the language barrier, we have to consider when you're working. If suppose somebody from the Australia working with the India, they should be knowing what is the culture the person is speaking with, what he likes or not like. The bigger team is working, 40 to 50 people working on together. Everybody's culture is different, everybody's language is different, but they respect and they look at a technical and then come out of the time. Even with the time zone is also important, because now the UK offices will be opening at this time, maybe in their lunch time, and mine is office closure time. So we work all around UK, US in different time zone. We have to take care of while we are considering the communication, right? And there's so many communication technology. We are now in the COVID situation. We all are working from home, and basically I got Skype. I got the everything over here, and from the MS Teams, we work together with all the countries. So it doesn't matter. Only I can see whether he is available, whether he is in meeting or not. And this technology is helping so much that earlier it is, you have to go to the project manager and ask something. You can ping, we got almost 30,000 people. You can ping anybody and just speak with him wherever he is. And then, there's a very collaborative way of working. But the communication is not just these technical, there's soft areas. When you talk to somebody, you want to win. That's what I said in the beginning, 50-50 negotiation, like that. Win-win situation is very important in your life as well. Whenever you're working with your friends, colleagues, family, this thing, win-win situation is always the best way to go. And then there is a constraint company like that. You are taking a decisions on behalf of the company. So you should be knowing that you what freedom you got, how much you can decide. Yeah. And I will say the technology is playing a good part. At least they are connecting you as soon as possible, but at the same time you have to see that the technology should not be a hurdle. Sometimes sometimes not much on the communication. Some people like to talk, so we got a video camera. You have to ease of use, this easy Skype. There's so many methods we use. Even project environment is like that. I said there's so much technology project wise now with a collaborative way, so I can take the project download and work on it, and it can upload it at the same place. So a lot more things in this area. And then I may take the last one on the risk management we come. So risk management is basically you sense that something is going wrong with anything of it. Is maybe the communication, maybe the human resource, quality, cost, time, and these things. So project manager always has to be very aware of anybody flagging or anything which is flagging a risk. Yeah. And the risk we have to see, there should be no, if the plan risk, then we have to see planning how to identify the risk, how we are going to correct it, and then plan the risk responses. Risk is not like always to avoid. Okay, there are the 5 responses to the risk and the change. You can avoid it, you can translate it, or you can transfer it. Okay, you can have a fallback plan, or you can exploit it. When I say exploit it, means you can convert it to opportunity. So sometimes, if I say, I'm just for my example, I'm working on the construction side and I see that there is a high voltage line going down over there, and it's suddenly noticed, and it was not noticed at the initial phase. There's a change, there's a risk. But what I will say in the risk that, we can just take that risk as an opportunity to cover that up properly, deal as a separate project, or just add cost into it and just make it better like that. That can be a separate project. So exploit it. Transfer it means if you are to transfer, it is not your responsibility. You have to just transfer properly that it is not written in the project management plan. This information was not passed to us, so this is a client has to deal with it, so that you are not playing with your risk budget. Yeah. So this is very important, and this is where with the experience you will come to know how to handle that one. So I say that plan the risk management means say who is going to how we are going to plan it. We need to identify the risk, perform the qualitative risk analysis. So once you identify the risk, not we have to just keep shouting like that. We have to just see the properly the importance of the qualitative and quantitative risk analysis. So we have to see how much is going to affect, and what is going to be the quality of that risk. So risk can be moderate, low, or high risk. So you have to just there is a risk assessment form. I don't know whether I have that one, but you have to fill the risk assessment form, see the possibility. Risk may be high, but the possibility or happening of it maybe less. So we have to just cover that in the risk assessment form. Yeah. And then about that one, then plan the risk responses and control the risk and monitor it continuously. Yeah. So what are these things, and there are analytical techniques over here. I said the expert judgment always have the first, because he might have seen, and expert means he got a big vision and he can see which are the areas going to affect with that risk. And then you take a meeting with your colleague, your seniors, and see how we are going to this thing, and then document. We have to document all the risks, and we have to see that the risk, ensure that a degree, type, and the visibility of the risk management are commensurate with both the risk and the importance of the project to the organization. So sometimes risk is not just like a cost or budget. Risk can be to your this thing, reputation of the company is very important. Jacob's thing is, sometimes we don't work in the local market because there may be more risk. Even in the COVID situation, we say no for going on site, not going to the office as well, because even a small something happens at a fatal or maybe some good hospital, that is reported globally, and then we have to just see how that risk is always there. So risk is very important part, and we have to just inform as soon as possible we identify anything. Yeah, and then I said there is a tools and techniques. So don't know whether checklist, documentation review, information gathering techniques. There's so many things, we have to just see the, SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunity, and threat of that risk. And then we have to just, we can show in the diagram as well. We'll not go in the risk management plan. It will have, it is important who is going to responsible for the risk, they define the risk analysis. Then timing for the review. Risk registers. The registers should be, continuously reviewed for any new thing and what we have done with the identified risk. Whether we have reduced the risk, this thing effect on our project, then we have to see. Then we have to identify. We'll say risk register. We identify, but we should not. We should make accountable people like that. Who is going to be risk owner? So there may be risk owner is different and responsible person is different. Somebody can solve the problem for you, but the risk owner remains the who is liable for answering for that risk, right? And then I say sometimes symptoms are the warning. Somebody in your team is feeling sick or he's not well. Even that becomes a risk, and we have to identify and inform to the project manager. Yeah. So let me see. Yeah, I think with this one I have not covered with the stakeholder liaison and 2 areas. But what I will always say that this is a quite big topic. Maybe this looks very theoretical, but I wanted to cover this thing just to share with you about my own experiences like that. I was working on the side, always curious that, what are the other people sitting in the office do? And I was standing on the side for 12 hours on the construction site. And then literally I was thinking, what are they think people, come very early and go very early, come late. Then I just went to the, I said consultancy is really good. So I went to the project management consultancy. First spent 4 or 5 years. Then I just learn a lot that, I was in the design stage, you will be in the entering stage. At that time, I was just planning with the quality of the work and the time. That's 2 things I have to focus. Then later on, I just understand the risk assessment. And then when I was, to the senior manager, senior engineers, I was given a project. Then you have to just look at a bigger scope because you now working with the people, your colleagues, and they will be supporting you to deliver a project. So that's helpful. Then I will want to say it's not the project itself. On the top is a portfolio. So once you go to the project manager level, you go to that one, you can handle a big portfolio. Portfolio means a part of the business or the part of the discipline, but the principles almost remains the same. Yeah. So with that one, I think I have covered most of the bits. Maybe looking very this thing. But don't worry, it's not that critical. It will come over the time. But try to read the more management. My suggestions to all my friends is like that, in the college life, just start reading on the management. We are very weak in the project manager. I'm recruiting people over here with the 17, 18 years. I feel like because I have gone through that phase and I want all you to be very aware of the project management. Doesn't matter whether you will go only to the technical, maybe for some people doesn't like it, but you should be very aware of the project management. If you see around outside and you get a complaint that why these things are not happening, if you walk on the road, okay, if you go to the any hospital or like that, you will see what's failing. Either it's failing on the operation part or the project has not been delivered properly. And it's not because we have not spending much time on the planning. I think in the UK and we work with the Middle East as well. I see the totally 2 different things. Middle East spends a lot of time to doing the same thing again and again. Sometimes I find because the planning portion, there is a rush from the top client. So it's important what culture the client come from. And even if you say UK, US, they will be very much, they know that spend much time on the planning. They may spend 6 to 8 months doing the planning and design the stuff in maybe 1 or 2, 3 years, but they will build a project maybe in 2 or 3 months because there is no change you will find. There is no risk because everything has been identified at the planning stage.